This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
Spoilers in this episode include Red Dead Redemption 2. Additionally, there is discussion surrounding gun violence and sexual assault.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are changing it up a bit.
As much as we love reading, we are A Court of Fandoms and Exploration. And this week, like Laura Marie said, we are changing it up a bit. And we're going to kind of explore the gaming world. Laura's really heavily involved in gaming. My extent goes from like playing Pokemon on Game Boy and like stealing my brother's like Game Boy, color Game Boy, like Game Boy Pocket, like all the variations and like the stuff when you're younger. This is just like, it's a lot's going on in the world right now. I feel like there's a preconceived notion that there's not a lot of female gamers. And then I was looking at this Forbes report that over 40% of the gamers in this world are women. And so this is just really like a learning moment for both of us. You sharing with me yet another thing that you love and me getting to pick your brain about it, because I feel like it's not just as simple as, oh, let's go turn on Nintendo and play Super Mario.
That's really a good point. I just want to say that I don't consider myself like a gamer or like a girl gamer because there is a stereotype and a stigma that goes with that. I don't use a PC. I'm not a PC gamer. I never have been. And you're right about women. And the reason that I don't do PC gaming and that I don't do like online gaming is because I don't want to put myself in a position to be harassed by men. I feel like and all women kind of get enough of that in real life, and we don't need that when you are, participating in an activity that you love that you use to escape. So I stick to non-online gaming on my PS4.
Oh, wait, that was going to be one of my questions, because so often there is the harassment, the bullying, the blatant open sexism that comes with being a female gamer online. And I remember with like when my ex would play Call of Duty or whatever it was when he was on Xbox Live, I'd be like, I want to play, because I used to play Call of Duty even like with my brother when he was begging for somebody to play with him. I said, like, we'll do like a co-op play kind of thing. I'll play with you. And it was fine because that Xbox Live component wasn't there yet. But then when I would just try to play with him, with my ex, he'd be like, are you sure you want to listen to what's going on? And he's giving me that choice of like, I'm just going to let you know what you're walking into. And it's vicious for no reason. Like, it's acceptable to speak like that. And that's just wild with it. And you see sometimes on TikToks where you have the female gamers saying like, day in the life of online gaming, and they could be the best player out there, and then guys get their feelings hurt because they're not as good.
Yeah, it's really horrible. And like I said, I am not an online gamer, so I don't know if it's gotten any better, but just from what I've seen in passing, I don't think it has. And that's really shitty. And Gamergate happened all those years ago, and that's really shitty. And yeah.
Because I'm ignorant to this stuff, what is Gamergate?
It was this big situation, basically just about harassment. But
even if it's brought to the forefront, it hasn't changed anything.
No, it hasn't. It did for a little bit. Felicia Day spoke a lot about this when it happened, but
she's a big gamer too, right?
Sure. She Felicia Day went really hard on World of Warcraft, and that is the inspiration behind her TV show that she made. And World of Warcraft really got her through her like depression, and it helped her reach out and have a community of people. And you should watch the show because it's fucking fantastic. Her character's name is Codex.
What's your background with gaming? Like, do you remember when you started? Who got you into it? Like,
oh yeah, okay, this is fun. I've actually never shared this because, like, who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody's ever asked. But yeah, I started playing video games with my dad, and we played the SNES. So the first games that I played were like Mario, and I remember playing Super Mario World. That was the one. And I had it all. I had the Game Genie. I had all the cheat codes. I had the books that help you through everything. I even, and this is going to date me, but I even ordered a Nintendo like medallion through their online like catalog thing. Not online. It was just a catalog. And I remember like the thing that I ordered, it was just like this stupid medallion. And it took weeks back then, like weeks and weeks and weeks. And I got a phone call, and my mom was like, Laura, there's somebody on the phone for you. I was like, what? I was a kid. And it was this person from Nintendo. And they were like, you ordered this thing and we don't have it, so we're going to send you something else. And I was just like, what? Someone from Nintendo's talking to me?
And like the fact that your mom was like, she's a kid. Like, what's the message? They were like, we want to talk to Laura Marie. So much fun. I had, so growing up, I had friends that lived across the street, and they were older than me, and they had the original Nintendo, and I thought that was really cool because that's not the one I had. And they thought, you had the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and they had the original. So I thought theirs was really cool because it had all these games that I didn't have, and they liked to come over and play mine because it had all these games. The SNES was really where I started with Mario, but of course, I played the shit out of the Addams Family game for some reason. I don't know why. It was really enjoyable. And then, of course, Mortal Kombat. I loved Mortal Kombat. I still love Mortal Kombat. I still play Mortal Kombat. And Street Fighter. And with Street Fighter was very formative for me because I remember very clearly I went to my mom and I said, Mom, for Halloween, I want to dress up as Cammy. She goes, oh, okay, well, show me a picture of Cammy. And I showed her. And I showed her.
How did we show pictures? Like, you just have to show the video game, right?
No. So the games come with a little book, like a little booklet. And then it has like all of the characters, and then they have like a little background. So like, they were born here and they do this and this is their occupation. So I showed her Cammy, and she goes,
I'm looking up a picture right now.
And she goes, Laura, you can't dress like that at school. And that was the first instance where I was told that I couldn't do something because of like society, like norms. Do you know what I mean? Because like she's wearing a leotard, and I was like, okay, well, I'm in dance class. I wear leotards all the time. And
so there's that connection of you're like, but I already have my hair. Like, I'm looking at a picture and she's blonde hair. She has braids, and you're like, this is how you dress me for dance.
Yeah. And I was like, she has like camo kind of tights in some of the pictures. And I was like, well, I could do that. And my mom was like, you cannot dress like this. And that was the first instance where that ever happened, where I was told that I can't dress like this because it will affect how other people treat and react to me.
Do you think that moment influenced you moving forward in your style and how you projected yourself?
I think so, yeah, because I got to tell you, Melina is my favorite Mortal Kombat character. And if you look at her back from like the 90s when we're talking about like, damn, so I think I remember being really angry and being like, why can't I do this?
So why can't I? Because you are a woman.
Yeah. And then my dad kind of said like, I actually, this is also kind of part of that. I would do like cartwheels and handstands and stuff all the time. And I remember my dad being like, make sure if you're in a dress or a skirt, you have shorts underneath because nice girls don't do that kind of stuff to show their underwear.
Ooh.
And I was like, what? Like, that also never occurred to me. I am a child. I'm a literal child. Like, why? But that's how it is.
And on top of that, it's not just like a nice girls thing. It's, you're a child. Why would you think of anybody try to think of you beyond what you are, and trigger warning, like, your parents are like really not just nice girls, but like, I need to protect my daughter from pedophiles. And as a child, you're not thinking that because you don't even know what it means to be sexualized.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Ugh. So those are very formative. And being sexualized, I remember very clearly being hit on by a very old man when I was 11 and him asking me if I was in high school and what perfume I was wearing. So, ugh.
I remember, and I remember there was a TikTok recently and she brought up such a good point. They're like, ask anybody, when do you remember being hit on the most? And it's never when you're 18.
Oh, no.
It's always like way before you were 18. And there's a couple of instances that I remember where I'm like, that they stood out to me before I saw that TikTok. And now I'm even like grossed out by it even more.
Yeah. But yeah, so moving from the SNES to another very like moment that is etched in my head is that I remember going to Toys R Us with my dad and playing the N64 for the very first time in the store. And I remember my dad being like, no, I want to play this. Like, this is so cool. And I remember being fascinated by like Mario, and you could like stretch his face and like move his face around. You could do all these cool flips and everything like I'm going to say it felt like 3D, but like, that's not what I mean, but you kind of get like what I'm going for. It was just,
but I mean, in a way, N64, from what I remember, it was kind of the first quote unquote 3D game, because I remember 007 GoldenEye, like you had to, like, the layout was very 3D. First time I remember you were the characters, like you were the POV, there were different settings where you can like either take a step back and look at your character, or you can be in POV with N64.
Oh yeah. GoldenEye is like this whole, we love GoldenEye. But yeah, so it was always something that I did with my dad. And then, I remember the first time I played a game, and I remember knowing that it was a bad game.
Okay.
The first bad game I played was a Xena fighting game that my mom got me for Christmas. So it was like Mortal Kombat, but with way less interesting anything. And you just played like the character. So obviously I wanted to play Xena, and then you just fight everybody and that's it. And it's over. And I remember being like, this is so fucking boring. Like, why? Why? Ew. Yeah.
Was there ever a game that you, like, that was a game you remember hating first? Was there ever a game that you were like, you were expecting to hate, but you're like, oh, this, like a guilty pleasure. You're like, oh, this is better than I thought it was.
No, but I remember the game that changed my life. So
let's go there.
It changed everybody's life. So obviously it's Ocarina of Time, Zelda. It was the first open world RPG game I ever played, and an
RPG is role player game, right?
Well, yeah.
So you know the acronyms. I don't, and I loosely know them. So if anybody is deciding, hey, I want to listen to this episode, then like I'm going to break certain things down. Oh, and SNES is Super Nintendo Entertainment System. So
yes,
back there.
Ocarina of Time changed my life. It I don't know. It was the first open world RPG, the first one where you had to solve puzzles. And, coming from like a strictly Mario kind of like you do this and this and this, solving puzzles as a child was just so much more like fulfilling and just satisfying. And I remember I can tell you, this has changed my life. There was a spider web underneath me in the game, and I had a torch, and I had to burn the spider web. And I was like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I was like, what if I like bend down? So I like crouched my character down, and then the torch caught the spider web underneath me, and I fell through the hole, and it was like, ding, 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 this is what you need to do. And I was just like, oh, cool.
Do you feel like because you don't do the online games, but you do these is it fair to call them quest games?
Yeah.
So do you feel like you use them for like escapism or like feeling a sense of accomplishment or like or do you find a balance between the two? Because that has to be, especially as a kid, that has to be super rewarding. You're like, I did something with no instructions. I'm that bitch. Like, I know I get excited when I do. I was like, I did that. Did anybody see? Like I parallel parked for the first time the other day in one shot. And I was like, May 2nd is the day that this happened.
Congratulations. Parallel parking's hard as hell.
Yeah, that's never going to happen again.
Especially in public. Oh my God. So to answer your question, I have a story. Ocarina of Time, got stuck in the fucking Shadow Temple for 6 months.
I love that you still like, these are so poignant in your life where you're like, sits with me.
Oh yeah. No, because I remember what you had to do. There was a monster and he had hands and then eyes and you had to shoot an arrow in one hand and then shoot an arrow in another hand to paralyze the hands and then you had to like shoot him in the eye. And I would try and it took me 6 months. And finally at 10 a.m. on a Saturday, I did it. And I was screaming up and down and I was just like running around my room. My mom was like, what is going on? Are you okay? And I was like, I beat the Shadow Temple. I was so proud of myself.
And she's like, this is my daughter.
Yeah. Well, because, you have to, at that point, to do the temples, you have to start at the beginning of the temple. There isn't like a save point where you could be like, oh, I'm going to save right here. You have to do the whole thing over again every single time. And I could do it like blindfolded by that point. And I was so incredibly happy. And at that point, my dad would come and like sit in the room with me and just watch, because he always enjoyed video games. And then watching me play like a quest game, which is something that he didn't have growing up, he got really invested in the story part of it. And then I was doing the mechanics of it. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Changed my life, that game.
That's so fun. Like, and just to share that, because some people, do you feel, I mean, I guess it varies from person to person, but are you more about the journey of the game? Like, do you like storylines? Do you prefer the action? Do you like when there is a marriage of both of those coming together? Like, what makes a good game good for you?
Well, and this is kind of related to how we feel about audiobooks and narrators. Voice acting is really important in video games, and there are a lot that are complete shit. There's I don't even remember what console it's for, but there's an X-Files game that our friend Rachel and I make fun of all the time, because David Duchovny was just phoning it in, and he has a very famous line where he's falling, he goes, Scully. It's like, David, come on, you could try a little harder.
He actually did the voice in the video game.
Yeah. And he's like falling and there's aliens. Scully. It's like, come on, David, you're a professional. But, so yeah, voice acting is a really big part of it. Editor Sam just finished, and let me preface this by saying I am the type of girl that enjoys watching other people play video games.
Oh,
I've always enjoyed that. I don't know, whatever. Sam just finished Red Dead Redemption 2. And when I tell you that I cried at the end of that game, and I didn't want it to end because
of the storyline.
Because of the storyline. The storyline, you play Arthur, this wonderful character who it's just really good. But he's fantastic, and the voice acting and everybody for Red Dead Redemption 2 is just phenomenal. But Arthur you play, and then Arthur halfway through the game gets sick, and for the bottom half of the game he's dying, so his character loses weight and you have to feed him more, and then he passes out and he coughs up blood, and you really care for him, and then you slowly watch him die. And then
even after caring for him, it's not like one of those, oh, I just need to feed him. If I when you have a choose your own ending, or if you're like, or with Tamagotchis, remember when as long as you keep feeding them, they weren't going to die. So if you kept feeding this character or taking care of this character, the storyline was he was going to die even through you taking care of. Oh, that's so sad.
It's so sad. And like how he dies is very noble, and he has this whole change of heart, and he doesn't want to be this like outlaw, and he's trying to do good by everybody that he hurt before. It's beautiful. Absolutely stunning. And, you know, when Arthur dies, you're just like, oh my God. Ugh. So I feel like story plays a good part. Voice acting also plays a really good part. I really enjoy that. Normally the story doesn't, you know, it's like kind of secondary to me, but Red Dead Redemption 2 and also Horizon Zero Dawn, absolutely fantastic storytelling. I loved it. Horizon Zero Dawn has Lance Reddick in it, and he is fantastic. And he's the type of actor where you recognize his voice. And I was like, is that him? And then he is kind of like self-inserted into the game. They use like his face. They don't put him as like, he's a character, but it's just him, you know? And I was like, I knew it.
So I guess with that being said, it's fair to say that if like words are coming, like the story's coming up on the screen, you're not hitting A to skip it. Like that's me. Let me just get to the game.
Well, see, and I think that depends, because in the Assassin's Creed games, I am just kind of like hitting A. It's like whatever, or X, X and O. I don't really care. But in the Uncharted games with Nate Drake, oh my God, so good. And the Far Cry games, and even the BioShock, actually, now that I'm looking at it, I do like this story. BioShock and Far Cry, The Last of Us also had a really good story. Oh, and Fallout. Yeah, Fallout, Far Cry, Horizon Zero Dawn, they're Uncharted. And Uncharted's a really interesting one because that's a movie coming out soon with Tom Holland. And it should have been Nathan Fillion, but, you know, they're cowards. I said what I said. But
wait, Nathan Fillion and Tom Holland are very drastic castings.
Well, yeah, and that's because the Uncharted games go from young Nate Drake to old Nate Drake.
So why couldn't they just do both?
Cowards, as I said. Nathan Fillion made a fan, he personally financed and made like a fan pitch film to give to studios saying like there's interest for this and I think it would be really good. And studios were like, yeah, you're right. We're going to go with Tom Holland though, because you're too old. Even though he's, I don't know, I'm still bitter about it. But the Uncharted games are fantastic.
Nathan Fillion is such a good, like, he's just good at the roles that he plays. You know, and whether that be fantasy sci-fi, like in Firefly and Serenity, or I can't even think of the other stuff that he's in right now, except from Rookie. I don't like watching.
Castle.
Anyway, Castle. Thank you. He's good at the roles that he plays. That sucks that they were like, hey, thanks for the idea. We're going this guy. I mean, nothing against Tom Holland. Very nice.
Mark Wahlberg's also going to be in it. Mark Wahlberg's going to be Sully, I'm pretty sure, which is good casting. But yes, okay. So yeah, story. Now that I'm looking at these games is important. I guess just because the Assassin's Creed games are the ones that I've played most recently, I just don't really give a fuck about that story. Although Assassin's Creed Valhalla does have a more interesting story, in my opinion, than Assassin's Creed Origin or Odyssey.
So when you go to choose your games, is it like with reading, where you're like, I read what I want because I like it, or is it because you like it, not because it's trendy, not because, or do you play your games because like, oh, this new game is coming out, everybody's talking about it, I'm showing interest as well? Like, how do you determine what you want to play?
I have a very specific set of parameters that a game has to meet before I start playing it. It has to have a significant amount of game time, so like 90, 100 plus hours. No, no question. It has to
It'll tell you how long, like I guess with like a book, it'll say like with an audiobook, it tells you how many hours it is. The games will do that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
And then, and it gives you a percentage as well. It's like you're 56% complete, you're 60% complete, so you have like a bar to kind of go through and you earn trophies as you go.
I'm already overwhelmed. You're like, ooh, this is a lot. I mean, explains like, for me, I've always played the party games, like, like Super Mario Kart, like Mario Party. I love Guitar Hero. Like
Smash Bros.
To me.
Yeah.
Like I like, and again, with like Guitar Hero, you could also play by yourself too. Like I just like, okay, I just wanted to do that for 3 minutes, or I wanted to just like quick little one-offs. One time you let me borrow some sort of Mario for the Wii, because I got the Wii for Christmas, and you're like, oh, you could borrow this. I could not get past a certain level where I was like, fuck this, I don't want to play video, and I have not turned the Wii on since, because I was so mad. And I'm sure I'm not the only person with the same frustrations. And coming from somebody who is like very ambitious, I do not give up. I'm going to keep doing it until it's done. Video games is just not that for me.
Well, and that's fair. That's totally fair. So there has to be a significant amount of gameplay. There has to be an open world format. It has to have, I prefer it to have some sort of magic, but I have
what's an open world format? Is that the type of world that it's based in?
No. So that is the ability to go anywhere on the map. Like it's not like a Mario where you
can't get past a certain point unless you beat that area kind of thing.
Yeah. So you can travel anywhere on the map and you don't have to follow like your quest. Like you have a goal, right? But it's not timed. Like you can do it whenever. You can do all the side quests. So that's important to me. So open world where I'm not in like a linear, A, B, C, D. I can do whatever. And
so there's multiple quests within you have like the main objective, but then you might like skew on to like, oh, here's a dirt road I want to explore.
Exactly. And that plays into my strategy of how I play, which is different, and I'll get to. But open world, lots of game time. I prefer magic, but it doesn't have to be magic. And it has to not suck. It has to work is what it is. It's not glitching. The load times aren't minutes upon minutes, which is difficult because I recently went back and tried to play Skyrim again, and the load screens are like 3 minutes, and it's just, it takes you so far out of the game that I couldn't go back and play it. And it's also an old game, but I also like to have the ability to customize my character and upgrade my weapons and choose the race that I want to be and the hair color. And I enjoy that, but it isn't like a deal breaker for me either. So yeah.
So are all the games and this is just assumption because of your quests, are they solely solo player games, or are there ways that you can do the quest multiplayer? Like, do you ever play with Editor Sam, like any of your games together, or is it you're playing, he might watch you, or he's playing a game and you might watch him? Is there anything that you do, or are there games that you've ever said like, this is going to be our game that we are going to like destroy together?
Yes. So Editor Sam and I played I'm going to say new, it's not new anymore, the Super Mario World that came out for the Wii, years and years and years ago. And we decided that we hate playing together because we each have very different strategies for how we tackle games. And it gets very, very frustrating to accommodate and adapt to somebody else's playing style. So no, I don't play with other people, and I don't, unless like you say like a party game, but I'm not talking about those like Mario, that, that's different.
Right.
But like a game where you have to like do objectives and things like that. Yeah. You can play Mario Odyssey on the Switch kind of as a 2-player, like somebody's the sentient hat, but it's really frustrating and it's just not something that's enjoyable. Like I play games for me, and the stress of other people is just not welcome.
I think that's fair to say for a lot of Quest games. I can't say for everybody, because like obviously with online gaming, it's a very collaborative thing that people are doing. But I feel like if you're staying offline, like it's like nobody get in your space. You just kind of like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I want to do it. And just, like you said, that there's different ways of handling the quest. You don't have to falter one way or the other. You're like, well, this is my way. This is what works best for me. And you go from there. But speaking of, you said that that's part of your strategy in how you play, doing the side quests as opposed to doing the linear version of the quest.
Oh, yeah. So I do this thing where I ignore the main quest for as long as possible and do every single side quest available so that when I do the main quest, I am so ridiculously overpowered for it that it's fucking easy.
Well, that seems like a smart strategy.
It bothers the hell out of some people, but whatever.
But why wouldn't you, like, to me, it's almost like a work smarter, not harder. Don't get pissed at me because like the main quest is a cinch.
And I had to shoot like 10 rabbits to like make an offering at the altar, and then the altar would give me points, and then the points give me new abilities, and the new abilities make everything a little bit easier. And, shooting the rabbits is fucking difficult, so it's just how you approach. Editor Sam approaches completely different. He likes the challenge. I like to just roam around and kind of just do whatever.
It's like when we're like, let's go to Venice. And you're like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I just want to see the plaza. Then can we get lost? And you're like, okay, let's get lost. And Sam's like, Sam would be like, wait, but where are the museums? I want to go here. I want to look at this. And I was like, let's just go to the streets.
I remember Sam watched me play The Witcher 3 and he was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you collecting plants? I was like, because I'm on the side quest. I'm not going to go to the village yet. I don't want that. So yeah, that is my strategy. Do every little thing you possibly can to be very overpowered for the main objective, and then make it really easy for yourself, because I'm not there to be stressed.
Oh, that makes sense. Because like the main quest is like it's like when you're going to go, again, this is just what I know. Why would you go beat Bowser as little Mario? Like, don't you want to be having like the fire flower to beat him, or like you have all those extra points, or even with Sonic, with Mr. Robot or Roboto or whatever his name is, like
Robotnik.
Get all thank you. Like, don't you want all the coins? Because then you could keep collecting. The more coins you have, the more you could prolong your life to be at that. I know these are very, very simple. This is all I know, Laura, bear with me. But it just seems like a smart strategy, as well as extending the life of the game. Like, did you really just want to go from like point A to point B, and then you're like, okay, I'm done with the game, and that just doesn't seem that you get the full enjoyment out of it, because then it's just on to the next.
Another part of my strategy is to find a weapon that I really like and then just upgrade that weapon until it's like God tier, and then just use that. I also very much like poison on my weapons. And I hate fire because somehow I'm always on fire, even though it must be my playing style, but I like cover myself in like fireproof, like runes and armor, and I still am just always on fire. I'm always rolling to put myself out because I'm on fire. But my weapons always have poison on them. That is just how I play. And I think something that I should mention is that I don't play first-person shooter games. I don't like guns, and I don't like shooting other people with guns in a video game setting. So that's, Call of Duty, that's all the army games,
right.
Just Cause, even Uncharted, but like, and Wolfenstein, like, sometimes.
So what winds up being your weapon of choice? You don't use like bow and arrows with like poison tips?
That's actually a really good point that you brought up. So most of the games that I play are set in like a medieval type situation or a post-apocalyptic situation. So guns like aren't a thing, which is nice. And it took me a really long time to be comfortable with stealth and using a bow and arrow, but now I love it. but the weapon of choice that I like is a scythe or a spear because I like to have distance when I'm fighting. I'm not a close quarters fight person.
All the more reason you need to like practice your Krav Maga.
Exactly. And I also really like magic, but magic isn't like necessary. There's no magic in Horizon Zero Dawn, and that game is fucking rad.
Well, I mean, not video game related, but it kind of just the magic and the close quarters combat and everything. It reminds me of the Shadow and Bone Netflix, where Mal is like Fight Club Mal, and he's physically fighting and wins. But then like a Grisha comes in and uses their magic, and he's like, "Yeah, you can fight with your magic, but what can you do if you drop the magic?" I don't know.
Yeah,
but it is still a skill set. There's really not physical contact in the battle. It's all what you've learned through magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
it's really interesting. And I just like to point out, like, yes, I play Far Cry, and like, yes, I played Wolfenstein, and like, yes, there are guns in there, but you know, killing Nazis is never a bad thing. So when there's Nazis that I have to like kill in a video game, it's like, this is fine. In Far Cry, it was a little different. I ended up using bows and arrows and kind of non-lethal force in a lot of those situations where I could, just because I'm uncomfortable with the concept of murdering people that are like real people with guns, because I don't know. It's just my personal hang up. I know that's not everybody's hang up, obviously.
I mean, there's a lot to be said with video games. That's not the worst of them.
Oh, no. Although I do remember very specifically my mother telling me that I was becoming violent because I was playing Mortal Kombat, and my dad going, no, she's a child. She's acting like she's like hyper because she's a child. She's not hyper and like violent because she's playing video games. And that was really nice for my dad to be like, this politic conversation that's happening is bullshit. And I'm sure that's not the case for some people. I'm sure, it affected some people that way. But just like me personally, my dad stuck up for me when my mom tried to take it away. And that was really nice.
Well, I feel like, and he got enjoyment out of it too. It was something you two it was another thing you two got to share together. And he was like, and in a way, he's kind of sticking up for himself too, to be like, but I want to watch the story. Like, I want her to keep doing. Because I can't know more of the story if she's not playing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you were a child. This is, this podcast isn't about the politics of what video games can do. It's just about our enjoyment of what video games are. Do you use it to relax? Is it like your form of escapism, or you don't look at it as escapism? You just look at it as something to like decompress and enjoy?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because the parameters are very firm in my head about the games that I will and will not play, there aren't a lot that come out that meet them.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah. So when something does, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's like, all right, now I have, this time, because this goes back to the way that I play. So when you have an open world and you're looking at the map and there are icons all over the map, and the icons mean different things, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go and find out what this is. And then you go there, you're like, okay, I did this thing. You open up the map again. You're like, oh, well, it's just 500 steps to the other thing. I can do that. Then you walk 500 steps and you go do the other thing. And that ends up taking like hours, right? And then
Sounds
you're
like our pub crawl. Oh, we're right here. Let's get this one right. That's not that far either.
Yeah. So then you're like, God, my ass is sore. How long have I been here? And it's been like 3 hours. You're like, well, damn. Okay. So yeah, I think I don't use it to relax. I just find it as this activity that is specific to me, that I really enjoy doing, that I don't get to do all the time, because there aren't a lot of games that meet what I want. And I say that, and I've played a lot of games. So when I started playing, I had like this huge influx when I got the PS4 of games that I could play. So it was like all the Dragon Ages and, all the Inquisitions and all these games. But now there's just not a lot for me.
How often would you say that games that meet your parameters come out?
Maybe 2 or 3 a year.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 or 3 a year. And then you think they have 60 to 100 plus gaming hours. That's a significant amount of time. And it's also kind of goes back to the way I play. I am not necessarily a completionist, but I do play until I have completed the main quest. So Editor Sam, for example, he will finish the game and then go back and get everything that he missed, right? So he'll play the main quest and he'll play the side quests and he'll do everything. And then at the end of the game, when you finish the story part of it, it'll say you're 74% complete. And he'll be like, well, got to go back and get the rest of it.
Because even though he did because I was going to say when I finish the game, that's done. Bye. That's what I would think. But that 26% that you haven't done, you're like, well, how do I finish it?
Yeah, that bothers a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
But I guess the way you do it with your quests, your side quests first, is that by the time you're done with the main quest, you are 100%.
Mostly. Okay. Yeah, I'm mostly done. So sometimes like The Witcher 3, for example, there's a lot of stuff in the ocean that I had to go and find, and you have to row out in your little boat and then dive down and hold your breath and get, and I had a lot of that to complete. And I was like, this is stupid. It's repetitive. I'm not going to spend my time doing this 90 times just to get the treasure. I'm done with the game. Gerald, we're done. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever replay games? Even if they're complete, you've completed them 100%? Are there ever times you go back?
So I did try to go back to Skyrim because Editor Sam and I watched Monster Factory, which is a McElroy Brothers kind of production where they play video games and try to make really hilarious characters and then go through. And they did Skyrim and they did it with a bunch of mods and it was hilarious. And I was like, okay, I can go back and play Skyrim. But like I said, it was just the loading times. It just took me all out of it. The only time that I go back and play a game is I'm not playing. It'll be, I finish a game. I think it's really good. I tell Sam, I think you would really like this. And then I watch him play it. And I watch him play it his way.
Has he ever played a game where, how you recommend things to me? Has he ever played a game and he's like, hey, I think you'd really like this. And you've been like, oh, okay. Or is it just very different parameters that you both have for your own gaming styles?
Yeah, we're very, very different. He doesn't really enjoy the Assassin's Creed games. He's a Far Cry. He likes Far Cry. He likes Wolfenstein. He likes Uncharted. He likes first-person shooters. That is his kind of genre, and that's not mine. But Horizon Zero Dawn was one where he started it, I believe, and then was like, I think you would really like this. I know it's kind of stealthy, but the story's really good. And then I started it, and then I ran with it, and then he didn't have a lot of time to play, so I was ahead of him, and yeah, it's really good.
What's do you have a game that you're looking forward to now that is being talked about, and you're just waiting?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't have anything really off the top of my head that I can think of that I'm excited about. It's just kind of but that could change, obviously. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Do people talk about games the way they talk about TV shows and movies, how you have the trailer and the teaser and you're like, oh, and here's some character posters, and to start building the hype? Do they do the same thing for video games?
Oh, absolutely. They have their own conventions. They have,
I know there's C2E2 in Chicago.
Yeah. So
I know
those,
that one.
And, Rockstar has their whole thing, and Keanu Reeves came out when his character was in.
That's cool.
So yeah, there is a lot of hype around it. So the Last of Us is a really fantastic, the first one. The Last of Us is a really good concept game that Sam and I both really enjoyed. And then the second one came out and the reviews were terrible and everybody really hated it and like hated where the story went and everything.
Wait, was that the one that they recalled because there was so much bad feedback? Okay.
No.
But there is a game that happened recently, right?
Yeah. They recalled it and refunded everybody. That was a bad situation.
So what's your favorite game of all time then?
Ooh. God. I'm going to get shit for this. I just want to say that when I bought this game, I didn't know who Kurt Schilling was. I want to put that out there. I didn't know anything about the drama behind it. I didn't know. I just saw the game and was like, Kingdom of Amalur, The Reckoning. That sounds pretty fucking rad. And then I played it and it was really rad and I really enjoyed it. Kurt Schilling's an asshole and what he did was really shitty, but I really enjoyed the game. Is it my favorite game of all time? No, but it's the one that Sam makes fun of me for the most. So I'll just put that out there.
Is it because of the history with Kurt Schilling that he makes fun of you for?
Yeah. I mean, it's bad. It's bad, but I like the game. I like the visuals. Visually, it's very nice, but you also are like in control of a little like band of married like companions that you can control too. And
oh, that's fun. So like, does that mean you're, in a way, if you're controlling them, are you not just the person fighting, but you have like a team fighting with you?
Yeah, but you tell them what to do. So it's like,
Yeah, so it's not just you fighting, it's everybody fighting, but you're giving everybody the commands.
Yeah, and there's not like other people. I mean, it's still just like the computer. There's nobody else. But I have like a troll on my team. I'm like, okay, you troll, you go fight this person. And like giant, you go fight this person. You type in the little thing and Kingdom of Amalur.
What is it about, because I know you said you prefer the PS4, you're not a PC person, you prefer the PS4. What is it about the PS4 over an Xbox? Because I feel like there's really like three types of people who solely have the Xbox, people who solely have PlayStation, and then you have some people who have both systems, and it's based on like, I guess some games are only released on one console. Is that what it is?
That's what it is. For me, it was the backwards compatibility between the 3 and the 4. That was really important. So like the games that you had on the 3 would also play on the 4. So you didn't have to like rebuy them. That was really important. And the games that I wanted were on PlayStation. They weren't on Xbox. And I have a laptop. I don't have a gaming computer. That was never my thing. So that's right. That's what it solely was based on. Because we started with the PS3. Yeah.
And Xbox seems to have like a specific, I don't want to say demographic, but like their games target one type of audience, and PS4 or PS3 or just PlayStation in general, they target a different type of audience. Is that fair to say? And this is again, all based on like assumptions that I have.
Yeah, I would think so. Just like Nintendo has like a certain, yeah, I would say that's fair.
Are there any frustrations that you have as a female in the gaming community? Because I know you said at the beginning of this episode, you're like, well, you don't want to call yourself a female gamer because of the stereotypes that come with it. However, you are a female who plays games. Is there a frustration with that association, or do you not really feel those negative stereotypes because you're not online?
I don't talk about it very often. It's just not something that I share with people. Like my family, like my parents knew, and like you now know, and Sam and like a couple of my friends, significant others, I would talk to them about it, but I'm not like making it my whole personality. I'm not making it like everybody's problem. It's just something
that you like.
Yeah, it's something that I like that I don't. Okay, I was recently reading something and it said, is there anything a teenage girl can like without being made fun of? And the universal answer was no.
No.
So I put myself out there in other ways. I don't need somebody like coming for me about this like small part of my life. You know what I mean? Like this one little thing that I do for me that doesn't affect anybody at all. It's, something I do in my own house that I don't share. I'm not online. I'm not like posting like my stats and stuff. I'm not sharing it. So yeah.
Like I knew you gamed, but like that was really it. And you just kind of, I never really got to ask. Not that you would say like, oh, I'm no questions, please. No pictures, no questions. But it was just, I think of it as just I'm not a gamer, but I have a frustration from like, as a woman, there's always the affiliation. And we talked about this in our villains episode is if the villain is a woman, we always specify by saying, well, it's a female villain. And I feel like the same thing is used in the gaming world is, well, she's a female gamer. No, she's still a gamer. Why are we, assigning gender to the noun? Because we're not going around saying male gamer, and Anthony Mackie made a point. He was doing an interview within the last 2 years. I can't remember if it was during Falcon Winter Soldier press stuff, but he made a point to say like, well, everybody keeps talking about me being like Black Captain America. And he goes, nobody's going around calling Chris White Captain America. Like, why are we assigning these titles for what's not quote unquote, because, when it comes down to, being in a patriarchal society and a white patriarchal society at that too. So I'm sure that has a huge factor in gaming.
Sure. And another kind of situation that just kind of popped in my head where you're talking about that is when editor Sam and I moved from one place to another and we had to make a new group of friends. It's obviously very difficult for me to make friends just for lots of reasons. Actually, I don't know what they are.
I don't know what they are. I'm like,
I don't know what they are. People just don't like me. But we had to make a whole new group of friends. And something that Sam and I like to do in a group situation is like pull out the party games. And there was a mixed group and they were over at our house, boys and girls. And the boys were like, do you have the new Mortal Kombat? We were like, fuck yeah, of course we do. And they were like, fired up, let's play. So we were playing. And some of the girls that were there were incredibly offended by what they were seeing in Mortal Kombat because, the costumes are revealing and there is a significant amount of gore and, it's very, very graphic. And because I have been playing that game since I was in like single digits, it does not affect me at all.
You're like desensitized from it in a way.
Yeah, it's a desensitization, but it's also they were offended at the women being half naked. And that's what they saw. I see strong, capable women kicking ass, using magic and their weapons to take down, the most powerful, you have to like work your way up to in every level. Every like fight gets more and more difficult as you go up and then you face like the emperor. But they saw it as objectifying women where I saw it as women wearing and doing whatever they want and just murdering the shit out of people and owning it. So we had like two very different perspectives, but they were very vocal about it and were incredibly uncomfortable and we turned it off. And then they never came over again. And they kind of
they as in the girls that
the girls that were there. And they never hung out with me again. So it was it was a moment. It was a moment for me and for like this like, friend group that we were trying to establish that just didn't go anywhere. Because of this like thing that we liked that we wanted to share. And yeah, it was just different. I guess different experiences lead you to different conclusions and different things. And like we were in very different places.
And I think it's interesting because I do understand there is a lot of objectification for women in a gaming world, especially when it was predominantly, again, like even though the women's statistic is 40%, like 84%, again, this is like, I'll post the article, like the links to like the articles that I found some of the stuff on, but there was like 84% of the gaming companies are male driven, are male run. So yes, that is going to be and again, with objectification and what's put out there, it's part of it's also because that's how we've been groomed growing up. Absolutely. But I think something that I've learned, as an adult, not so much when I was younger, is there is power in women dressing however I want is still being a strong woman. Like, do I understand where that perception where these, people had, they're like, oh my goodness, these shock moments with video games. Yes. Part of me is like, are you really ignorant? Like, where have you been? Of course, that's what they look like. Hell, look at anime alone. Like, where's your feedback there? But to what you're saying, you're like, yeah, you might see that, but I see, it's like it's the quote, a woman can do anything a man does, but in heels. And that's how I kind of see this also is like, yeah, not only is she's kicking ass looking like this, like the hot shit that she is, knowing it and using it to her advantage too.
So Sam and I watched the new Mortal Kombat movie that is on HBO Max. And, it is what it is. But Melina, my favorite character, is essentially fully clothed. She, her ass isn't out, her tits aren't out, and she's still an absolutely fantastic, like mind-blowing character. Really, really fantastic. So, I think that might be kind of a societal shift where we, like video game characters in movies before, it was very much... We know what it was.
Well, you could say that even with Scarlet Witch, with like, look at how her character was in the comics. And then when Lizzie signed on, they were like, we will never have you in that. Don't worry. Just like, look at the backstory. And then of course, WandaVision comes out and at least like they poke fun of it at, her comic book character. However, it's still very tasteful. And now they have her in like strong, like red leather, like she is like, you look at that and you're that is badass. Like no matter what they have her in, I've always been a Scarlet Witch character, like loved her before the show, loved her for a while. And so like, it's really nice to see her get recognition, but it wasn't about like you said, there is that shift of like, you can be powerful and wear whatever you want, no matter what you're in. Like, and that's how I see, even like when we read about Poppy or something, like she has her dress up to her thighs, her thigh sheath is showing, but you fucked up. Like if you cross her path, like you're done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think there's such a, I don't know, strong women in video games. It is difficult because a lot of the times, as like we're kind of saying, like the powerful armor for a woman is like a bikini, but for a man, it's like a, head to toe full armor where, it's just different. But, hopefully that will change. But
that doesn't make you play any less.
No, not at all. And like in a post-apocalyptic world, I'm not worried that she's in like a fur bikini, like whatever, because, that might be how you start. But like, as you progress, you can customize your character. So you can stay like that if you want to, or you don't have to. So I think that customization is also really important. And I like that has become very prominent in games, that you have a lot of leeway in how you present yourself.
And is that part like if you gain coins, if you complete this mission opens up, now you have a fur coat to keep you warm, and like you have access to certain things too, right?
Yeah. So in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I can, once I get to like certain towns and like do certain things, I can change my tattoos, I can change my hairstyle, I can change, how I kind of carry myself. And I think that's really important, and it makes it very personal to yourself, because you're putting a lot of yourself into your character. And Felicia Day speaks a lot about this.
I feel like you and her could have a good episode together, just to talk about gaming in general, because she's online. I think she's openly said that she's online. She might have even like hosted it, but when you have two smart people talk about this subject, there is a depth to to video games, and it's not just the stereotype of, oh, I live in my parents' basement and I game my whole life away.
I mean, I have visited Felicia Day's Animal Crossing island, so there is that. She apologized for not digging up all the fossils, and it was bothering her that that's how her island was presented. And I thought that was very sweet. Yeah, it was cute. She has a fantastic Animal Crossing island if you're interested. But I know the Animal Crossing hype has like died down. But
what was Animal Crossing? Wasn't it just like basically The Sims? Like that's how I saw it in my head. It was like a animal sim island thing that you just visited other Sims in a way.
No, well, I never played The Sims, but it's just like it's chores. You have to like settle this island with a couple other characters, and like they are kind of autonomous and like do whatever and like kind of interact with you, but like not all the time. And you have to like pick weeds and cut down trees and dig up fossils and turn in specimens and build a museum.
Is there an...
No, there is no end goal.
Quest? Yeah, thank you. I was like, I'm trying to like, is there an end game? You just keep doing?
Yeah, you just keep like living. Yeah, you can like visit other islands and like you can, you can visit other islands and you have like little quests and they celebrate holidays. And they,
this like sounds like, I don't know if you ever played it like years ago, and this is totally going to date me. When Farmville was a thing on Facebook.
I never, no.
That was like the only game I played. Oh, and like I had to make sure my island, like I would harvest trees and collect bananas and make money. So like you can get different trees. Then I remember I went to Disney one week and I was going to be like, but my farm.
Well, that's interesting. So I haven't played Animal Crossing at all since I had Assassin's Creed Valhalla because, I like to do things. I don't like to just pick weeds. So I went back to my Animal Crossing island for the first time in a really long time. There were bugs in my house. And it was so upsetting.
No.
It was so upsetting. I had to go through and like kill the bugs. And when you kill them, there's like a little ghost bug that like kind of like goes up. And and Sam has been playing a lot of Pokemon Snap, which is his favorite game from childhood that just got released.
What's Pokemon Snap? It's not Pokemon Go, right? It's different from that.
Pokemon Snap. You will love this. It is very much Sam. You have like quests and objectives and you have to take pictures of Pokemon. You're on a track. You can't, and you just like go like toggle the camera back and forth and you have to take like fantastic pictures. That's all it is.
That's so Sam.
It's so Sam. Yeah. And he played it when he was a child and like it just, it released like 2 weeks ago and he's been playing a lot of it. So he hadn't been to our Animal Crossing island either. And I just like randomly went just to see, and we had such tall weeds everywhere. It was so embarrassing.
Are you guys on an island together? Because I know you said multiple people. So you like tend your island together.
Yeah. So he's like the like main person on the island and I'm just like a resident there.
Can you help him take care of his island since he's the main person? Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's the one that like builds the bridges and like builds the like things. But like I live to create chaos. So I go and like move everything 2 inches to the left and dig holes and like plant instead of having holes with money or fossils in it, I'll like put a flower in it just to piss him off. And I just do little things to create chaos.
I like the 2 inches to the left. Just like this looks weird.
Well, he doesn't notice it until it's been like a foot. Then he's like, wait, this is different. It's very funny.
Do like 2 inches, like I'll do 2 inches today and then I'll do 2 inches again.
Yeah. And then he'd be like, what? Yeah. But yeah, Animal Crossing was really good in the beginning of the pandemic because it helped. It's very calming, right? There's no consequences. The worst thing that can happen is that you get stung by a tarantula or stung by a wasp and pass out and then wake up again with no consequence. So it was very relaxing.
Well, and I just remember like at the beginning of the pandemic, I mean, you had people, you still have people who consistently play Animal Crossing, but there was a resurgence of it. I mean, with a lot of things during the pandemic, because you're like, you know what, I'm going to use this time to do this, or I need to do something, especially when so many people were just either let go or furloughed. And we're just like, well, let's just go with it. This is the first time I've had summer break since I was 18.
Right. And
17, 16, whatever.
There's something to say that, we all kind of reverted back to our middle school self during this time and kind of rediscovered our love for everything. And I think that, you could say that for anything, but it's been an interesting time.
But I feel like with that reflection, there's either, I don't know if it's going back to that middle school self and I don't know if it's a rediscovering or like allowing ourselves to enjoy the things that maybe through as we got older, it was groomed out of us that we weren't allowed to enjoy it anymore and now it's socially acceptable. It's either socially acceptable to enjoy that stuff or we just don't give a fuck anymore. Like I'm going to like what I'm going to like. And we get to like it with money. Like we don't have to ask our parents, like, I really want this shirt or I really want this thing. Now it's like, hey, what else should I get?
It's so right. Oh, this has been really fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I wasn't sure if you're going to be like, oh, this is going to, how this was going to go because there's just so much. We've never done like a Q&A kind of style. It's just like chaotic energy the whole episode.
Well, and I've never shared this, it's just not something that I talk about. So it was kind of nice. And I've always wanted to be interviewed. I've always dreamed that, what would James ask me on Inside the Actors Studio, but this is as close as I'll get, and that's fine.
I'm so sorry. Let me call James up and see if he'll have some choice words with
Well, you can't because he's dead.
Dead. You know what? He's hanging out with your little ghost bugs from Animal Island.
Yo, I did not expect that to hit as hard as it did. I was like, oh, why does my house have bugs in every room?
Ghost bugs.
Yeah. You think I'm fucking with you, but there's a little ghost that comes up in the shape of a bug. Sam thought I was fucking with him until I showed him.
It's like why can't you just go splat?
Yeah, and then he's like, well, my house doesn't have bugs. I was like, fuck you.
Could have you know what? Now you got to set some food out in the kitchen and not tell him about it.
Oh, God. So funny. So funny. Ugh.
So this is all you. How do you want to, what do you want to share that you haven't shared yet?
There's I'm going to plug another podcast, but it's a big one. There's a McElroy podcast called Besties that is about the best video games of all time. So it's like 4 best friends talking about their favorite video games. And it's a really lovely podcast. The McElroy brothers are absolutely huge. So they don't need a plug from us, but I enjoy listening to them.
But they're big within they just solely talk about games.
Mm-hmm. That podcast, is just about games. And then of course there's Monster Factory, which is online. So good.
All the plugs. And we'll have them in the description of the articles that we were reading and just recommendations, because I feel like you can bring a lot to the table, because nobody aside from these podcasts talking about it, I don't feel like you really hear girls talk about it as much from an offline perspective, because a lot of the people who are well-known female gamers are all online.
Sure. And they're
that's
doing,
why they're known, because they're online.
Yeah. And they're doing their Twitch stuff, and, God, more power to them. Honestly, I bow before them to put themselves out there. And
right.
Wow.
And because don't watch me on Twitch. If I played a video game, I'd just be dying all the time. There were times where I would play with my brother and I just didn't want to play anymore. So I would stand in a corner and throw a bomb at myself. So I'd have to have a respawn in the Halo. And he gets so pissed at me. He's like, I want to play the game. And I was like, oh, sorry, I got to respawn. And depending on where you are in the game, the more you die, the longer your respawn was. And he'd kick me out of the room.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. I'm trying to think. We have the Switch. I think we got really lucky getting the Switch when we did, because you can't get them really anymore.
So hard to get now.
Maybe by the time this episode airs, there'll be more Switches available. But
I didn't realize that it was something so hard to come by, because my cousin has had 2, and he had the upgraded one, and he loves it because he either connects it to the TV or he, when he'll be like, where's my Switch? And we're like, we told him as he got older, you have to account for that. If you don't know where it is, or if he's like, oh, my Switch died, we're like, you're old enough, you know how to plug it in yourself. But he knows, he brings it to school. He puts it in his backpack. I mean, I didn't realize how versatile it was. that it's like the new Game Boy, but not. There's just like the interconnectivity of it, I guess.
Yeah, so being able to put it on the TV and like handheld is just really great. And unique and just fantastic. And I have to say that Zelda Breath of the Wild for Switch is so much fucking harder than it needs to be. Oh my God, those puzzles don't need to be so difficult.
It's all hard to me. I'm like, it's difficult. But if you like a challenge, I feel like gaming is definitely an avenue to explore, because as we've learned, if you guys have been following on our podcast, you don't know what you do or don't like unless you try it.
Sure. And, some people do, crossword puzzles to keep their brain active. There's a lot of activities that we can do. I think there's something to be said for video games that force you to have like critical thinking skills and like spatial, like all that stuff. I think it's something that can be used maybe in the future. I played the shit out of Tetris. I think we all played Oregon Trail, Carmen Sandiego. Technically that's gaming, right? Like, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can play video games and have them be a source of enjoyment, but also kind of like keep your brain stimulated in a different way that isn't talked about a lot. And I think we grew up playing those games. I think there's a place for it in like all sorts of settings.
I guess that really concludes our episode this week. Keep following us, keep reading. We're on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. We're on Instagram. We're going to keep up with different raffles based on different mile markers. Thank you for listening. Thank you for continuing to just be a part of this journey.